Hello, welcome to AI Playbook. And today we'll be looking at AI for sales and lead generation. So, how can we leverage on AI as salespersons, as people who deal with leads, and making sure that we do it smartly and also conveniently? So this is going to be like a very short course, but the goal is to explain both the theoretical and the application part of AI when it comes to lead generation and customer acquisition as well. So let's dive into it and see what we have today. When we look at the whole AI space, of course, there are a lot of conversation going on. But how do we really address the practical application in our businesses? How do we put in the right method, put in the right processes in order to achieve all that we need? And of course, if you're like so many people, it's very easy to think of how you can be excessively impactful when it comes to the way the technology is moving. So, how do you connect and ensure that everybody that deals with you, everybody that you do business with, enjoy some level of professionalism in the artificial intelligence space? That's what this conversation is all about. Part of what we'll be doing is demystifying the concepts for AI application when it comes to business conversation. We're also going to be looking at some hands on experience, industry standard, AI tools, and platform to use. We look at how we can enable custom implementation solutions, or sometimes you could even subscribe to existing platforms. And of course, whether you're a professional or you're just interested in artificial intelligence, well, we're going to be looking at how you can use all of these things to create a workflow and a strategy that works in every business scenario that you find yourself. So, who are the target audience? Why should you listen to me? Well, if you're a professional and you're a leader, business leader seeking to integrate AI into your operation, then you have to listen to me. If you're a tech enthusiast, you're a developer interested in also finding ways to integrate AI into business environment, you're also welcome here. And for entrepreneurs, startup exploring AI powered solutions, this is also an avenue for you to see possibilities. Also, if you're a student, someone who is just interested in boosting your career, you can also listen to see areas where you can plug in some of these things. Also, organizations looking to train their employees on a couple of these things. I think this is the right place to be, and let's see what we have to do together. All right, let's take a look at what we have in Module 1. For us to really understand how we can really get the most out of this, it is important that we understand the overview of what we're trying to discuss. We are not new to SAIL. What we are new to here is artificial intelligence. So think of it as just a layer to make your job quite more fun and more productive. All right, just a bit of intro about myself. My name is Olatoye, and I am a software engineer and also an AI enthusiast. Pretty much what I love to do is to give people practical knowledge as to how they can apply technology to their day to day activities. And I've been doing this for the past 15 years. So I have trained multiple people to gain technical skills. And of course, some of them have transitioned from just non technical role to becoming either software engineers or data analysts, whatever the career path they choose as at the point of engagement. Let us talk about the course structure. This course is divided into three lessons, or you can categorize them as three modules. Each focus on specific topic. And the modules, of course, are things that we'll discuss about, and you see them in a couple of minutes. Now, In between all of these courses, I have embedded some projects which can be helpful. You can try them out and, of course, come up with something that will work for your organization. The best way to get the juice or the benefits out of this very conversation is not just to listen to me. You need to take notes. You need to find a way to follow along and practicalize everything that will be said during the course of this training. Now, let us set expectations. For you to make sense out of this, yes, I know I may be able to deliver this course within a couple of minutes, but the implementation may take some days. In fact, in some cases, some weeks. So, what I will recommend is you can dedicate between 4 to 6 hours every week to do something from the advice I'll be giving to you. You can also look at the assessments in between. Now, for those watching on YouTube, you will not have access to some of these resources, the assessment, the project, but you can check the link attached to the video on YouTube so that it can take you to the right content on our platform so that you can get all the resources that we have. One thing to also understand is at the end of this as well, you can also earn certification. And of course, you can also get that from our platform. I also want to mention that when it comes to skills like this, or when it comes to applications like this, it is important that don't assume that you know. Just put in the good work, put in the practical work, and you should be able to get the result that you're looking for. I am available to take your questions at any point in time. You can hit me up on any of my social media platform at Noah Olatoye. And also, you can reach out to our support team. You can chat us up. You can go to our website, instinctup.com, reach out to us, and the team will be willing to have further conversation with you. Without further ado, let's dive into what we have in Module 1. AI Fundamentals for Business Application. Beyond the hype, beyond all this conversation around artificial intelligence, the question is, what can you really do with it? And the day you understand the practical aspect, the better, because what you find yourself doing is you start investing in the right resources, in the right skill sets, in the right knowledge in order to achieve your aim. Oftentimes, most of us are stuck with the generative AI. And what do I mean by generative AI? The best we can do is go to either Gemini or ChatGPT, and after that, that's all. In fact, for some of us, we are not even good at those generative AI itself. For instance, have you ever questioned yourself the quality of output that the machine is giving to you? In fact, I often say that how good artificial intelligence is to you is how good your prompt is. The result you get from artificial intelligence is how good your prompt is. And what do we mean by prompt? Of course, your conversation with the machine. Those things that you type in, those queries that you put in, the responses you get from any artificial intelligence model would depend on those things that you put into the machine. And that's why all these things are very important as you dive into every of this conversation. So distinguishing between the noise and also the real application is one unique skill that will help you in solving any problem that you find. Understanding from simple complex to decision making, all of these things are suitable ways to learn the right way. And identifying the suitable business problem is also something that you should know how to really spot on every time you have any of this conversation. Sometimes some businesses will just struggle with customer acquisition, but the root cause may not be known. And when we combine the possibility of all of this merging, they give us the insight that naturally we may not be able to see them when we have to do it by ourselves. When you look at all of these things, we still need to consider the business impact, like the business impact assessment. How do you quantify the return on investment on every of the implementation? Because I must tell you, AI right now are a bit expensive, and anybody fusing their money into it, they need to be able to tell if that is worth it or not. So these are some of the things that should be widely considered before even implementing any artificial intelligence. Another area is aligning AI capabilities with business objectives. At the end of the day, don't just create AI or don't just implement AI products just because people are talking about it. Part of the question to ask is, does it align with the business goal? Is it going the right direction, or you're just doing it because of the noise? And most importantly, you need to consider the common pitfall and how to avoid them. It is very, very important. In fact, sometimes if you're not careful, you may end up wasting money without really achieving any results. What are the AI tools and the landscape? What are the things to look at for? When we look at the categories of AI tool, we have machine learning platforms, and oftentimes these platforms learn on their own. So which means you can give it a set of data, perhaps customer data and customer interaction in real time, and the machine is able to adapt and learn within that scope and do whatever it's expected to do within that timeline. Then we have natural language processing tool. Oftentimes, there is a need to understand what the customers are saying. So when you hear the term natural language processing tool, you're hearing the term of how can your customer reach out to you without you being there, and the machine understand the intent of the customer. Like, why is the customer reaching out? This has everything to do with knowing why a customer is reaching out. Beyond just, oh, a message comes in, you auto respond and all of that. No. The moment a customer reach out to you, how do you understand what the customer needs and being able to adapt and act based on those things? So that's what we call natural language processing, understanding the context of every conversation between your customer and your product. Then we have computer vision. In some cases, you want your AI or you want your product to be able to see. Naturally, machines don't know things by just looking at it, even with the brightest of cameras. But through computer vision, applications are able to see things and understand and give meaning to them. Recommendation system. So after all of these things have worked, you understand the customer's intent, you're able to see or understand object, perhaps the customer snap their receipt sent to you. At the end of the day, you then come up with a recommendation system. What are you recommending to the customer based on the interactions and the lessons you've learned from them? All of these things have very huge role to play. Choosing the right tool is also something you should understand when it comes to this AI landscape. The assessment criteria for AI solutions. What do you need to put together to really understand the right tool? It is not just about subscribing, it is not just about deployment. It is about understanding what you need so that you can quickly detect when a solution doesn't meet the business need. Another question to ask ourselves is build versus buy consideration. At what point do you build an internal system, or at what point do you subscribe to an existing platform? Of course, this has their pros and cons, but the earlier you understand how this work, the better. In some cases, it may just be a layer. It may be that you subscribe to a platform, but you build a layer or a plugin into that platform to sort of like help you to achieve what is required. Also, you need to consider the integration requirement, or whatever it is, your existing platforms. How do you integrate them into what you have? What are the available resources? What are the constraints within the platform? These things are very, very important. So imagine if you need to build something that integrates into a platform like Instagram. Consider whether their security allow that which you want to do. In some cases, you want to maybe scrape their whole user, you want to see, get user sentiment and all of that. Majority of these platforms have restrictions. So you need to understand all those limitations in order to have a comprehensive roadmap to follow every time. In some cases, you know that some areas are just no-go area because of some constraint, but it is important that you ask some of these questions even before thinking about any of the implementations. Another thing to look at is building an AI implementation roadmap. Of course, that leads us to building AI implementation roadmap. The question now is, how do you achieve that? You achieve that through strategic planning, identifying high impact AI opportunities within your organization and outside of your organization. What are other competitions using? What are they not using yet that you can incorporate into your system that will make a lot of sense and help in achieving more success? Another area is prioritizing project based on feasibility for business values. If I must tell you, the interesting part of any technology implementation is project based. Don't just implement AI because or artificial intelligence product because it is good to have it as a company. Think of a project. Think of something. Maybe there's a campaign. Maybe there's a process that you guys do oftentimes continuously. How do you tie that project to that implementation? In other words, oh, we need to do this campaign XYZ period of 2025 or thereabout. Which AI tool can help us to do it? So think of it as project based. Then you need to also understand resource allocation and timelines creation as well. The number of resources that you need. Do you need internal talent? Do you need, is it going to be external? Do you need to train people internally? What do you need and what are the timelines to ensure that this happens? All these things are very important considerations at the beginning stage. Also, you need to look at the implementation framework, stakeholders alignment, communications, technical prerequisites, and infrastructure requirements. In some cases, what kind of talent do you need? Do you also need on-premise sort of deployment? Do you want to have your data reside within your building so that whatever happens, you have a copy? What are also going to be the success metrics? What are the things that's going to tell if this is successful or not? If you cannot measure it, you can't improve it. So determining all of these factors early on would help you so that when you're talking to management or you're talking to stakeholders, you're able to relate data before and after. Now, another thing to consider is change management. Of course, AI adoption is still in its early stage. Most businesses are still struggling to know what's the best way to incorporate it, how impactful is it going to be, and things like that. If you really want to go deep into this, you need to really understand how to drive the adoption. You need to understand your organization's readiness. Is your organization really ready for this? Assessing your team capabilities and identifying skill gap, managing expectations and addressing concerns, developing training and support programs. All these things are very, very essential. Then once you're done looking at all of these points, you also need to consider adoption acceleration, creating early wins to build momentum. What are those little things you can put beforehand that will create that momentum? And also, communicating success and learning. How do you let people know what the successes are? How do you know when to scale from your pilot to enterprise wide development? All of these things are very important conversation to have in your change management and adoption phase. What are the opportunities and assessments, AI opportunity assessments? So part of what to look out for, business challenge identification. What are the things you need to do? And you could all of these things I'm saying, all I'm expecting you to do is map out the assessment. Take note of all of these things. Create a document and begin to ask these questions. Talk to some stakeholders, do some analysis, and see what you can get out of this whole thing. Analyze your business processes for AI application, document current pain points, inefficiencies, quantifying potential impact of AI solutions. All these things are very, very important. Then, two selection exercise. How do you evaluate AI tool based on your specific needs? When you analyze this, your business processes, what are the AI tool that best meet those things? What are those things that you can incorporate that best meet those expectations? And creating comparison metrics for potential solution, developing selection criteria and scoring methodology. All these things are hugely important. Okay, so now let's look at the AI roadmap creation. Some of the things to consider when it comes to the creation of the roadmap. Implementation planning, developing a phase approach to AI implementation. So you just have it phase one, phase two, and phase three, and so on. You need to also create resource allocation plan. Yeah, at what point do you get so resources? At what point do you relapse some? You need to also establish clear timeline. Risk assessment is very, very important. Identifying potential implementation challenges, and not just that, also developing mitigation strategies to mitigate those challenges. You also need to have contingency plan. What if AI fails? What if it fails? What do? You can also have that business continuity plan. And pretty much that's it for our lesson one. And in lesson two, the goal is to understand customer insights and engagement. So it is going to be very interesting. And those who are joining us on YouTube, all you need to do is check the link. Of course, if you subscribe to our AI playbook, you also get the email. So if you're here to check the description, and you should be able to see the link to the full video. The cool thing here is this is going to be a continuous conversation. On a weekly basis, we're going to release fresh new content that will solve one problem or the other. And I really want to be, and I really want you to be part. So don't hesitate. Just if you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel, do that right now so that you can be part of the conversation every time we release a new tip. And that's how I wrap it up on this very lesson. Until next time, I'll see you in lesson two.